Hello and welcome to P Gurus. This is Jayanti. Hinduism has long been distorted, misrepresented, and demonized in the West. It is often simply reduced to caste and cows. Hindus were earlier mocked as smelly curry eaters, cow worshippers, but today the attacks are vicious and unprecedented. Hindus are by default presumed to be casteist, accused of perpetuating discrimination, and painted as oppressors. We find bizarre parallels being drawn comparing Hinduism to white supremacism and Hindus to Nazis. The current wave of attacks are also more sophisticated, more subtle, and clothed in the garb of social justice and civil rights. This rhetoric exploits the well meaning Hindus' desire for universal well being, loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, and deceptively lulls the Hindu into believing that all Hindus will not be targeted, only bad actors need fear. Of course, no one supports discrimination. Yet, despite a lack of genuine evidence of caste discrimination in the US, there are ordinances and bills being furiously enacted that essentially demonizes and stigmatizes all Hindus. To help us better understand the issues at hand, we have none other than Sree Iyer ji. Sree Iyer ji is in the middle of all this and has led from the forefront, working to raise awareness in the Hindu community. Welcome, Sree Iyer ji.
Namaskaram. How are you, Jayanti?
Wonderful, Sree Iyer ji. What is happening in California?
Well, let's start with SB-403, which is what you alluded to in the introductory statement. And SB-403 has just been passed by the California Assembly. Interestingly, about 27 assemblymen, women abstained. And that is in a large part due to the amount of mobilization the Hindu Americans did, showing people the truth of this, how this is essentially targeting one selective group. And I think that resonated. Unfortunately, that was still not enough to stop the bill from being passed through the assembly. It is a watered down version from what was originally set out to like being very, very draconian. I think it is better now than what it was before. However, now the only thing that remains for this to become law is for the governor, Gavin Newsom, to sign it into law. However, I believe that Gavin Newsom may actually not sign this thing for the following reasons. You have been following the national politics, and there is this Biden, will he run, will he not run question that was being asked back and forth. And even though Joseph Biden, president of the United States, has said that he is going to run again in 2024, doubts linger because health-wise, he seems to be a little bit infirm. So is that going to mean that the Democratic Party may decide that they need to run primaries for 2024? It is possible. I'm hearing 3 or 4 different camps forming. For example, yesterday, Nancy Pelosi, who I see that as a godmother of Gavin Newsom, has announced that she's going to run again in 2024 for the Congress. She's 82. I mean, high time she, hung up her boots and started playing around with not her grandchildren, but great-grandchildren. And yet she wants to do it. So this has been a new pattern we are seeing. 90-year-old Dianne Feinstein doesn't want to resign as a senator of California. And Mitch McConnell, another octogenarian, he has his brain fade moments. So my point in saying all this is, why are these people sticking onto their chair? It is my opinion again that all of them are corrupt, and they are afraid that if they step down, that they might be persecuted by law. And they're trying to delay that as far as possible. And by being in some sort of a control, by being in Congress or in Senate, they may be able to stall it. Now, coming back to the law, SB 403, I think Gavin Newsom is himself entertaining thoughts of running for president in 2024. And it's a simple reason. He's terming out as the governor of California. See, think about it. What's the next step for somebody who has run California for 8 years? It is the presidency of the United States. He's not going to take an ambassadorship position. That is for mayors of California, such as Garcetti, who used to be Eric Garcetti, who used to be the mayor of Los Angeles. So he is yesterday he denied that he is going to be running for 2024, which means he is running for 2024. Anytime a politician says it is not about this, it is exactly about this. That's how I see it. I've seen US politics for a while now. I know that he plans to run for president in 2024. And I'm also hoping that some of his staff will play this video back to him, because he needs to understand, you sign this thing into law, you are going to lose 4 million Hindu American votes. Trust me, we are going to make absolutely sure that people go into the voting booth with their eyes wide open. This has been a planned operation using a few lumpens who are also of Indian origin. See, this is where the sepoy concept comes in. We have not learned our lessons.
Yes.
We are still perfectly wanting to be sepoys. This is where things stand as far as SB-403 is concerned. I have a hope that he might actually not sign this into law, because if he is having even 1% hope of running for president, he might not want to do that. Thank you.
Yeah. So can we touch upon why this law is problematic? I mean, it sounds like, oh, if you're against discrimination, you should support the law. Why are Hindus alarmed? Why is this basically coming across as a existential issue for Hindus in America today?
Three reasons, Jayanti. First of all, it is not based on facts. There's not a single instance of discrimination based on caste.
Yes.
Second, they tried to test it in a court of law and it failed miserably. Their basis for bringing this law is a survey, which is a flawed one. And that survey was not accepted in a court case, Cisco versus California CRD. California, I don't remember the expansion, CRD. And there the judge threw out this report saying that this is not correctly done. So they don't have a foot to stand on. Yet they have persevered to go on to continue to try and mobilize people. And here there are lots of lumpens who are also sympathetic to the Khalistani cause, who also happen to wield some influence in the Democratic Party, who have basically threatened the assemblymen and senators of the state of California that if you don't toe the line, there will be consequences. These are all officially made Twitter statements.
Right.
So this is actually forced them to go and do this thing. 100%, none of them really understand the consequences, but somebody has told them to do it this way, they are doing it. But is this what is, right? Think about it this way, Jayanti. Today, no job applicant is looked at by the HR person of any company. They don't look at every incoming resume. It goes through a software that sort of filters it out. It tries to match the relevance of the person's resume for the job position. And only after that, 2 or 3 levels of filtering, they decide that, okay, this seems to be a reasonable fit. And only then the HR recruiter starts getting involved. Now imagine if there is a law like this. What will happen? They'll say, well, if we hire a Hindu American, there could be problems down the road.
Exactly.
So it's just one line of code. You say that, any Hindu sounding name, don't even include. That's it.
Yes.
We are shooting ourselves in the foot. So the people who have actually, written or driven this law are themselves going to be victims of this. I mean, people are not thinking this through.
Yes, exactly. And also, it might affect other religions also, because when people look at other Indians, they can't always make out whether you're Hindu or you're Muslim or you're Sikh. They just are like, you're from the subcontinent, and that just rings alarm bells. Caste, why get into problems? So let's not hire them. So it's not a visible marker like race. So everyone will be affected. Everyone will be discriminated against.
Yes, and also, go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you were finished with your question. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to just get into some of the odd theories that are being pushed in order to make this a reality, like caste has been mapped onto race. And we have something like a critical caste theory that's being propounded, and Hindu identity is being recast as a kind of whiteness, and Hindus as de facto supremacists, and brown immigrants their lived experience is being redefined in terms of privilege. It just sounds so astonishing because there's just no comparison between what happened with white supremacy and slavery and whatever social dynamics play out in India across religions. So, how is this getting any purchase?
The purchase is coming, it is believed, from the deep state in United States, who were unable to control India from purchasing oil from Russia. This goes back to the Ukraine conflict. So they felt that India is no longer listening to us. And this is a way of trying to, Bunsen burner, you can have 4 settings: sim, low, medium, and high. They want to try and increase the setting a little bit more, let this thing reverberate, let India think that, okay, these guys are now being put under pressure. Unfortunately, Hindu Americans, all of us, you, I, and 4 million of us who all came here seeking a better life and having complete faith in meritocracy, only come here to find that after we have succeeded to some extent, that people are going to start pointing fingers at us for something that we did not do, and also trying to now color our children with thoughts that we never inculcated to them. So all this is happening purely because the United States is unable to control India. That is one thought that is running underneath. And if you think about it, that is the one that makes sense. US is based on meritocracy, but for how long? California is sort of like the harbinger of good and bad in the United States. When, for example, everybody were saying that, Japanese were coming in the 80s, it was California which brought in US out of that by having all these new internet-based technologies and so on and so forth. So now the woke system, the wokeism has taken stranglehold in the state of California. If somebody commits a crime of steals about $800 or $900 or less, San Francisco Police Department, many other city police departments, I think LA also, they say that let's not even prosecute them. So what happened recently was in a store run by 2 Indian Americans, this guy comes and starts loading up, and they try to tell him not to do it. This is a habitual stealer. They tell him that don't do it, and he continues to do that. And then when he starts to leave, one guy tackles him to the ground. The second guy brings out a stick and beats him black and blue. And now they are under investigation. Look at this.
Yes.
Look at this. You come to my house, you try to steal from me, and if I try to take corrective action after giving you due warnings, I'm going to be investigated. What kind of a crooked logic is this?
Yeah.
This is what California has sunk to, Jayanti, and I'm hoping that this doesn't go beyond this to other states. Unfortunately, all I can tell you is it is not true. It is already going to other states. Oregon is mulling its own version of SB-403 with language that is far harsher.
Yeah. Yeah.
All I can tell is, poor Oregonians who are of Hindu American origin, you guys need to wake up and smell the coffee. Disaster is coming your way.
Yeah. Yeah, and the sad reality is that Hindus are being attacked by the left and the right. And this has real life consequences. We're seeing racist attacks against Hindus, all Hindus. No one knows what caste you are. There's racism and open demonization, openly being smeared. Comments like, go back to Hindu land, ship them back to Hindu land. We're already seeing rampant media bias, and it's likely to infiltrate, like you said, into employment spaces, recruiting bias, and just increased bigotry, xenophobia, racism, hate crimes, violence. We're beginning to see all of that. How can Hindus let them know that this is not acceptable? How can we counter this?
First things first, we need to educate ourselves about what our religion is. Many of us have grown up in cities where it was fashionable to not show your Hinduness.
Yeah.
And I'll start by saying, women stopped wearing bindi a while ago. Men stopped wearing, tilak or vibhuti or whatever else, that they used to wear on their forehead. These things have come over a period of 60, 70 years, 3 or 4 generations. That needs to be undone. You have to be proud to be a Sanatani. And for that, people need to educate themselves as to how great the civilization was and how how nice and enriching Sanatana Dharma is, because it is the cradle from where Buddhism, Jainism, and many other branches have come out. And for us to not even look at that, we need to understand who we are. So first we have to look inward, and then we need to also start telling outward, look, this is all wrong, and this is why it is wrong, with, there's a substantial amount of data available. For example, I'll start with the textbooks, right? You take a look at a 6th grade textbook in California, and I'm sure it is true in most of in the United States.
Exactly.
Hinduism is covered by 2 pictures. One is of dancing Nataraja, and they show the Nataraja as if he's dancing on a baby. It is actually a Rakshasa, a demon called Muyalagan, and it has something more than what that literal picture is showing. And the second one they show is of Kali with the head in her hand, and then drinking blood. So these are all intended to shock you that Hinduism is something that it is very, very crude, and they worship stones. It just goes on from there. So first of all, we have to explain to them it is not Abrahamic, where you are literally interpreting everything, whether it is the Bible, which is a book, or Quran, which is also a book. You are literally interpreting what is there. How come you have never questioned what is right or what is wrong? And why? What gives you the authority to question something that is predating you by thousands of years? Sanatana Dharma means eternal flow. It's been around for a long time, and it will be there for a long time. So we have to, first of all, enrich ourselves with what is the Sanatana Dharma. You can watch P Guru's videos. I've done a lot of videos now, including, educating people about swastika, how it has been, miscompared with the Nazis' hook and cross. The two are different. Yet, how many of us know this difference, and why is it different, and why the swastika came into being? All this is explained by way of videos and P Gurus. But then I have the well, I have the water. Somebody has to come and drink from it. And I am trying my best to tell people, you want to know more about Sanatana Dharma, please do come and watch the videos that are available in P Gurus.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And you made a really important point. Like Sanatana Dharma is full of metaphors, and the symbolism has deeper metaphysical meanings. For instance, the Muyalagan, or also called Apasmara, refers to ignorance, and Kali, when her cutting off the head, again represents the cutting off of the ego. But they just take it literally, and not just the imagery. They take every sacred text, every festival, every story.
Very true. And again, Hinduism is not polytheistic, it is polymorphic. There's only one God in Hinduism. This is itself not known to many people. You ask any Hindu, Jayanti, how many gods are there? As 4 million, 3 million. Numbers, they don't understand that there is a deeper meaning there that we are asking. There's only one God. That is Parabrahma. From there, everything happened. And there is a reason why all these things happened. So we don't know our own religion enough. And that is first thing that we need to look inward. And again, I've explained this as to why there's only one God. And then from there, how all these other gods started coming out. Go ahead.
But in our tradition, though, they don't, condemn you if you decide to view, if you decide to think that it's multiple gods until you realize it's all Parabrahman. So then they, you can take your own journey. No one is saying, oh, well, there's just one God. If you believe there's more than one God, then you're condemned to hell. So you can take your own journey. And, the deeper layers are something that we as Hindus, as you said, we have to understand, because they're stripping these layers layer by layer, and it's being distorted beyond recognition, and not being aware of what holy means, what Deepavali means, what Navratri stands for. They are recasting all our festivals in an oppressor-victim mold. This is really problematic, because it is directly an attack on the dharma itself. It goes beyond just talking about discrimination, which no one supports. So it's something that is much more sinister. How can Hindus try and raise awareness among the the diaspora? How can they organize, and how can the next generation be drawn into this to coming out, because many of them are being co-opted in by framing these as issues of oppression, and they get carried away with the rhetoric, thinking that they're part of the oppression. And how can we stop that?
Well, we have to start, spending a little bit of time with our children when we celebrate various festivals. The reason for that and why we do it, and this is important. They shouldn't do it because their parents are asking them to do it. Rather, they should say, "Okay, let me listen to this story. There is a story behind this. What is the story behind it?" Anytime we start out like this, well, we are doing this because there's a story behind this, right? So
Yeah.
we have to make it interesting for our children. I mean, we all grew up with Amar Chitra Katha, and that was a great cartoon book, very thin, and in 20-25 minutes, you got the gist of any story you wanted. Today, with so much, social media and various options to consume content, this has taken the backseat. And again, children are growing up in an alien space where they don't have this Sanatana Dharma coming through, like whether it is TV programs or a loudspeaker playing some songs and things like that. So there is an insulation that has happened. So we have to try extra hard to make sure that our children grow up understanding the great dharma that they are basically from.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so important because ignorance makes it easier for them to succumb to propaganda falsehoods. Just the cases that they claim turned out to be false cases. One was BAPS and the other was the Cisco case, the well-known Cisco case.
Yes.
The Cisco case turned out to be completely false. You probably know much more about that than most people. Could you enlighten us?
Yes. So, the viewers, if you want to take a blow-by-blow description of what happened in the Cisco case, take a look at castefiles.org. castefiles.org. I've done a lot of monologues and also interviews on this case. Essentially, the thing is, the Equality Lab is a company that wants to make money off of this. They are the ones who have taken critical race theory and then cut and paste it to make it call it as critical caste theory, and they're trying to come up with the rules. What they want to do is first bring in SB-403 like law, then go back to all these companies and tell them, here, this is how you implement it. So essentially, you are framing the rules for which you are going to be coming up with the product. Nice and easy way to make money. Unfortunately, what happened in this was they wanted to test this whole thing on the Cisco case, where they found one Dalit engineer who complained that he was passed over because he was racially discriminated. Unfortunately for Equality Labs and for this person, it was found in the case, as the discovery happened, that none of that is true. In fact, the exact opposite happened. So there were three people that Cisco sued: two engineers and not Cisco, CRD. There were three people that the CRD sued, the Cisco as a company, as well as the two individual engineers. And by 2021, it was clear that there was no case there. And the judge threw out the caste discrimination survey report, which was totally unscientific. So once that happened, the ground was slipping from under their feet. Yet these people have brazened it out. They have passed a law in Seattle City, and they have tried to do similar things in other places also, and becoming almost belligerent and in your face when somebody doesn't accept your point of view. I've seen this thing firsthand in Fremont. And these people are just arrogant. And there is another word that is 8 letters, starts with A and ends with S. There is one person who has died because of their badgering. And there are some cases that are going to find their way through the courts on that. So a lot of things are happening. But the crux of the matter is, finally, when the two engineers said that, look, if you don't drop this case against us, we are going to countersue, they dropped the case against those two engineers. But CRD wants a win. These people are corrupt to the core. Why do I say that? Because the first set of litigators from CRD got fired. And now you have a new set of litigators, but somehow they want to take a bone away from this case. So they want to somehow make Cisco to accept to some conditions, saying that we will do something in place. Guess what? Cisco has refused to do so. As of today, as of my knowledge, Cisco has not settled with CRD. So there is no caste discrimination. They don't have a case, and that they know that they can't go to the court. So they are trying to mediate their way through with Cisco, and Cisco is saying, go take a hike. So this is where things stand. There is no case, there is no discrimination, yet somebody wants to make money off of this. This is all it is. Equality Labs, dubious funding. They have come from Muslim Brotherhood, from many terrorist organizations, and nobody wants to take cognizance of this. I'm shocked that some of the law and order authorities are continuing to let this thing happen. So anyway, these are also there are other cases in the courts, and this will get exposed. You have to give the court some time to walk through all these cases.
Yeah. This is exactly the problem that all Hindus are likely to face, because everyone is considered suspect, everyone is presumed guilty until proven innocent. So, and even after that, it's too late. There's too much damage done. So, we absolutely must oppose, broad brushing bills like this, and SB-403 falls under that, because it not only institutionalizes Hinduphobia, it enables racism, even violence, and legitimizes discrimination against all Hindus. It is now turning into an existential issue. Thank you, Sree, for all the insight and information. Thank you for all that you do, and the relentless work that you do to bring awareness to this burning issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.